Hi, I'm Bob Switzer, and this is the Epic Narrative. Hey, everybody, how you doing? Oh, man, it's that time of week again. It's like the middle of the week. Time for a little check-in. How you guys are doing? I wanted to... Maybe I feel like I should rip off a very popular podcast. Say, hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday episode after Monday morning podcast. Something like that. But that would probably mean I'd owe Bill Burr some royalty rights. So I'm not going to do that. Not going to do it. But I do want to check in with you guys, let you know I appreciate your feedback. A lot of you sending so many encouraging notes. A lot of you know me personally, so you're sending me like text messages and Facebook messages, which is fine. This is awesome. I'm glad that a lot of you that know me are listening, and I appreciate your encouragement. I also want to always encourage you to continue to encourage others to check it out, to subscribe. Would really love to see this continue to expand because I want to keep doing it. I want to keep doing it for a lot of years. I love the long format, and I do know it's long. And some of you, that maybe jumped in it on the first one are like, holy cow, this guy talks for like an hour. It's true. And I am, episode 2, I was still kind of finding my rhythm. I pre-record all these things. So that second one, I know we went well over an hour on episode 2, and just so you know, I think I find a better rhythm by episode 3 or 4, and the vast majority of them from there on out are less than an hour. They're usually between 45 and 50 minutes, and then some of them go an hour. But I just needed to find a rhythm. I'd never done a podcast before, and I was trying to somehow make it seem like I was in front of an audience or give that same sort of energy, but I really kind of feed off of an audience. So it wasn't as authentic. Even when I listened to this second episode, I was like, yeah, man, I really wish I had found that rhythm earlier, but you don't find the rhythm until you start doing it. And I think I do. So stick with it. I think you'll still enjoy it. I think we get better at it. I really, really do. So thank you guys, though, for your support. I appreciate that. A lot of people really appreciated the background in Saul and his family and just using what I call my imagination. I mean, you could call it, a godly imagination, a heavenly imagination. I just love imagining, these storylines. And for me, that storyline of his family, I mean, I take the facts of who he is and where he came from, and I surmise, make a good guess effort as to the culture in which he grew up in, not only from where he came from, but also based on the decisions that he makes later on throughout the narrative. And you'll hear that, and I'll continue to bring that up because I do think that David and Saul had the same heart for God. I don't think God chose Saul as a payback for people not wanting Samuel to be in charge or his horrible children to be in charge. I think he picked a guy who had the same sort of heart for him. But man, his struggle with self-rejection just was way more intense. He kept choosing to go down that road, and man, it really impacts the rest of the narrative. And we finally got to David. Right after hours of conversation, and the rest of the narrative, is really about him. But Saul plays such an integral part, and Samuel too. But Saul more so, I think, really shapes a lot of David and who he is and the way that he interacts with life. So, thanks again for those encouraging words. I also had a friend who listened to the first one, and he is from the Middle East. He actually pastors at an Arabic church in Boston, and he heard me trying to do that Middle Eastern call, that excitement that they have, and he actually recorded it for me. The fun part for me is he recorded this during their worship set on Sunday morning, he literally Marco Polos me in the service, and he's like, here's that, he called it a whistle. He goes, here's that whistle that we have in the Middle East, and we're gonna play that for you. Well, just stick it in right here. Appreciate that. Go ahead. So there it is. I mean, I love that. I love it. I wish I could do it. It's like a throat and tongue. It just involves it. It's so like it involves the diaphragm, the throat, the tongue, the lips. Everything is involved in this thing. It is really quite amazing. And I need to. I'll get the word. So the word he called it a whistle, and I was like, I texted him. I was like, it's crazy that you call it a whistle. And he goes, well, actually, it's not called a whistle. Technically, it's called a Zaghrouta. Zaghrouta. But he said there's no English equivalent, so I call it a whistle. I was like, dude, there certainly is no English equivalent. It is such a great sound, and I hope you enjoyed it. I love the fact that you could do that during worship and nobody even bats an eye. Like in a lot of churches, you pull off one of those things, people are all going to turn around and stare at you, but not at his church, man. That's just awesome. So yeah, I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your encouragement. Love it if you continue to let me know how things are going, what you appreciate, what you'd like to hear more of, because I have no problem hitting up on a Thursday podcast and just running down a trail that you guys want to go down. Not a problem on my part. Love interacting with you guys. So keep up the good work. It was great stopping by, checking in with you guys. Have yourself a fabulous week. Episode 3 drops on Monday, 12:01 a.m. Oh, this is a good one. You're gonna like this. I know. I like them all. I really do. I look back at these notes and I think, oh yeah, I remember that part. I cannot tell you how many times in telling this epic narrative on David, and there's a lot of episodes. I've forgotten. It's not that I didn't know, but I'd forgotten. You just forget large portions of his life. And man, this guy lived a life. So I hope you continue to enjoy. And I'll see you next week. I'll see you Monday on the Epic Narrative.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Epic Narrative. If you have questions for Bob or would like to reach out for booking, please email us at thebobswitzer@gmail.com or visit thebobswitzer.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Epic Narrative podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. See you next week for another chapter in our story on The Epic Narrative.